All right, you guys asked for it. I put up a poll if anyone wanted me to make an Azure guide, and here we are. Surprisingly, I think 80 people said yes, or around that number. I'm only surprised because I just didn't feel like a lot of people would be interested, but I was wrong, and here we are. I find Azure pretty fun. People are just dead wrong when saying that he's OP because there's a lot of nuances to him. In my opinion, he's like top 4. I don't think he's top 3. I've been thinking about it. I don't think he's top 3. He's like top 4. And the hard truth is that when you get his worst map, he is honestly probably the worst killer in the game, probably worse than Slasher type bad. Because when he gets a bad map like Brandon's or just other big maps, I'll get into it, but he is just really bad. But that doesn't mean there's no absolute way to use all of your abilities in the absolute best way possible. I'm gonna just do the same thing I did for the John Doe guide I did a while ago and just go over the best way to use your abilities and what you should be doing in situations and what you shouldn't be doing with your abilities. A lot of people say Azure is pretty easy to play. For me, he is. I wouldn't really disagree myself. Personally, he's definitely not that hard for me to play. But lately, because obviously he's been out for a while and people know the counters, people know how to actually go against him. Honestly, to counteract that and go against that, honestly, he's one of the hardest killers to play right now. I don't know if he's John Doe type hard, but he's honestly top 2, top 3 hardest killers to play right now. But enough yapping. I'm gonna just start off with Secret Bulb and Stigmatize. I'm going over both these abilities because both these abilities, though they both serve the same purpose, they both complement each other in other ways, and one benefits the other if the other one is used correctly, if that makes any sense. I suck at words, so probably not, but obviously you're playing a zoner killer. You're playing, there's more of a zoner killer, not a trapper, because John does the shooter trapping, and he actually is fully capable of fully boxing you and actually trapping with the spikes. Azure is a trapper in ways, but he's still more of a zoner and just making other areas more dangerous than others. But you basically play with the same mindset as John Doe. When you're placing footprints, you think about the best loops on each map, the places you want the other survivors to go into that aren't as good for them than other areas. Right now, I'm on Cake Factory. The absolute strongest loops are this staircase, this entire back section over here. Even with this killer door they added a while ago, even this back area is a pretty strong loop. You get a pretty good chase starter, pretty good check spots. Yeah, this truck to run around that you can literally just look under and just get godly chase starters. This is nerfed, so this isn't as bad. And then just for distance, you have this entire back area over here. My footsteps are fucking loud. It's kind of the same thing with John Doe. You have to have a lot of map knowledge. Not as much because John's spikes are more intricate and there's literal setups you have to do, but you still do need to know the maps when playing Azure. Just knowing the most traveled spots, the biggest loops. And Stigmatize is basically your footprint. With footprint, you put it in very much enclosed spots because your Secret Bulb has a lot of range and you put it in more open areas to block off other loops or even just to prevent it from running in the open, which sometimes works. So a good example, this little tiny room, you always run through this when you're looping around this entire thing. So you would put a vine right here, or it really doesn't matter. You could put it on this door, or you could put it right here. This is how you use Stigmatize, because your Stigmatize is basically your footprint and closes off the very tiny areas. Another example would be right here, and you would close off this little thing, so that way this isn't really loopable. And your Secret Bulb would go in more open areas, kind of like this, I would say. Let's say if you were to not place that vine right there, you probably should, but if you were to not place that vine right there, I personally like putting my bulb right here. You could probably put it right here, but I like putting it right here. Actually, wait, I'm dumb. This spot right here is a bit better, and that's in the way now. But you would put your you would put your bulb right here instead of right here. This is kind of a dumb spot because if they run up this, the bulb does shoot up, but sometimes it's weird and it probably won't shoot up this, and it'll probably just hit the side of this. So you would just put your bulb up here, and this would block off this little area, and this would block off running over here. It's not a true trapping. It's not the exact same as John Doe, where it absolutely closes off that area. It just makes it a lot more dangerous to go in said area. Your trap placements are literally the most important, obviously, in his entire kit, because in some ways Azure is also a snowballer, and you do a pitiful 22 damage if the survivor just has no Atropa, which is 5 M1s to kill anyone who isn't Duzakar or Elliot, who have 90 HP. Well, Elliot has 80, but Duzakar has 90. You get the point. It takes 5 raw M1s without Atropa to kill any other survivor that isn't a support. So getting Atropa is absolutely needed. You literally need your Atropa to get kills, or you're just gonna lose. That's just how it is. But I can show examples of where you would put your bulbs and your Stigmatizes. I personally like to put a vine right here. You also just gotta simply just play the game more and learn what the differences between certain placements are, because had I put a vine right here, this would block off, it would be a good vine, it would still block off this whole thing, but it wouldn't necessarily block off this truck right here. That's why I put it in the middle right here. It's just little things like that you gotta think about. and then like you would put a secret bulb like somewhere in the open, like right here, so like they basically can't run this way. They'll get shot like at least 4 times, honestly. And it isn't the worst idea to actually put a secret bulb next to your Stigmatize. It's just that you're kind of wasting it. It's not like the hugest waste. If they get caught by the vine and get shot by the bulb, that's pretty good, but at the same time, your bulb could be zoning something else. A mistake I also see players making is putting the vine in the open and just kind of like doing this. I mean, this honestly right here isn't like the best example, because this actually isn't a bad vine, because like anyone who wants to run through here, they will get caught by it by running through this, or try to run around these boxes and running through here. But it would just be better to put a bulb right here, because their Stigmatized, like I said, is a footprint, and it's for tighter areas, while your bulb cuts off all of the much bigger areas, because you want to maximize how much range the bulb has. If you put a bulb like right here, no, this isn't a bad placement by any means, but there is going to be some situations where like somebody runs from over here and then they just run through this and then they get shot like once, maybe twice, which is still value, but you could have better bulbs that could potentially shoot people even more, and you get more tropo, which is more M1 damage, which is more pressure. It's just a lot of things you got to think about with how much value you can get from each trap. Other good bulb examples would be like, honestly, putting one like out right here. It would be really hard to run to this from over in this direction. You wouldn't really be able to run to here. And with Stigmatize, I can't show it obviously because there ain't no survivor here, but if somebody gets caught in your vine, like let's say the chase starts back here and like the survivor is like somewhere around this little area, and he runs through this and then he gets caught by this damn vine without juking somehow. He just gets caught by the vine. Don't immediately M1 the absolute second that you catch up to them, and you have like, I don't know, maybe like 80, 70 stamina the second you catch up. Regain your stamina on the Stigmatize. You start your chase stupid close. You literally start right here with 110 stamina. Sure, they get the hit speed boost, because it seems like you get a bigger hit speed boost from hitting someone in Stigmatize for some reason. I don't know what it is. Even with the hit speed boost, you hit them, then start the chase from whatever they run, because you will be up stamina, and 9 times out of 10 get at least another M1 or 2. But yeah, another thing, just don't worry too much about these open areas. Yes, put your secret bulbs in like these more open areas, but like there's little areas like this that like aren't that good. Don't be like wasting traps and like doing something like this. Like, once again, it's not the worst to do things like this. It really depends on the positioning of the survivor, but it's just kind of a waste in putting traps in like not so good loopable spots in areas that good survivors wouldn't really go too much anyway. Another way to use secret bulb, you're gonna run into this a lot. I don't know if this map's the best example because there's not that many tiny check spots, but still, yes, you do have your traps everywhere. Let's say you have your traps in all the areas possible, or like all the best areas possible. If you run up to something like this, or like you're at a check spot, and let's just say, I don't know, this plant's disabled or something, or I just have this somewhere else. Raw dog in this chase ain't the best. Azure is slow. Same thing with John Doe. Like, Azure also doesn't get any speed. Azure is pretty slow. Like, if you get a close chase starter, whatever, but you have no plant pressure. You have nothing to get extra damage on the survivor, even when you catch up, because if you catch up in like a chase like this, and like you just start chase right here, you might get an M1 or 2, but that's still only like 22 or 44 damage, which is not a lot. So what a good thing to actually do is think about where the survivor is check spotting at. Think about where they're actually standing. And if I'm in a position like this, just pretend this vine isn't here, because they shouldn't be standing back here if there is a vine here. If I'm standing right here, I would, a good thing to always do is to put a bulb on one of the sides like that. And you always want to force them back into the flower if you can. Even if they don't run into the flower in this situation, you get a good chase starter, because most players, or most decent players, they're not going to want to run into this. They're going to take a lot of damage. You're going to do more damage because you're giving them a tropa. Your M1's going to do more damage, and they're getting shot by this damn thing, which is a lot of damage. That right there, honestly, if the flower shoots them enough, that's like 35, maybe even more damage sometimes. Actually, no, 35 is too much. It would be like around 30 damage, but still, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of damage. It's always good to do this if you have someone at a thing like this and your traps are just everywhere else, because as good as Azure can be on his good maps, like when it comes to zoning most of the loops, there's always going to be another area someone can run to. So like for things like this, it's good to put a bulb to the left. Even if he runs like this way, I still get a cutoff and I should be up stamina. Never put a bulb on one side and then chase from the bulb side. You just counteracted your play you made, because you're making them run away from the bulb. You want them to run into the bulb. And it really depends, but you can also do the same thing with Stigmatize. Like if someone's standing back here in this little area, like you could do the same thing with Stigmatize, but it has to be a tighter area. This doesn't work for a lot of areas, but you could do that and then run on the other side, force them to go back into it. Even if they do not get hit by the Stigmatize, it's fine. They literally have to bait this out and use stamina, which is going to take at least 10 to 15 stamina, which gives you the stamina advantage, so it's value. Now, remember when I was talking about the bad maps? This Brandon works. It's literally the worst Azure map. Maybe you could argue Natural Disaster is worse. Maybe you could argue York's is worse. But I feel like generally, it's still technically my opinion, but just generally, like, this is the worst map for Azure in the game. There's so many little loops. You have this white thing back here. You have all these things back here. There's like 4 loops back here. It's a dead zone, but they're still good loops. Azure's a slow killer, so like the chase starters aren't even like that crucial if like you start chase right here and Azure's on the other side or something. In situations like this, it's just a hard truth. You kind of have to accept your loss. The literally only time you win on maps like this is that the survivors are simply just bad and you just kill them regardless. There's not much to zone. Like I put a Stigmatize here. Like I do have certain telegraph setups for every map, but like for this, it still doesn't matter that much. But like I still have my own setups for this. Like you put a Stigmatize there because you have this big black box. This is still a giant loop. I have to put my other Stigmatize like kind of right here. It'll block this little thing, and like somewhat block this little thing over here. But there's still like, you still have like this thing you can run around because like you can still bait this. And then your other Stigmatize, like this castle, unless you're John Doe, because even John Doe's worse against this castle. Like you cannot do much about this at all. This map is shit for Azure. Only Stigmatize that makes sense to put up here is either one like right here or even just slap one right in the middle right here. And even then, like it's still not even good. They can still drop down because they added this little big, I don't know why they added like this thing right here, because this is, I forgot about infinite ability cooldowns I put on. This is still a good chase starter even when they drop and get dropped fatigue. It's just really annoying because if you want to block off this whole castle correctly, like you still have to put down 2 traps. And that's 2 out of your 6 traps for all these other areas that are in the rest of the map. And it's just so stupid. And then I would have to put a bulb right here or something. It's just dumb. On maps like this, really all you can do is like try to force survivors into dead zones. Like say someone's like on this side over here. I keep forgetting about the infinite ability cooldowns. It only makes sense to put a bulb right there and then try to run this way and force them. But then they can still run this way, and I have to use another trap. I mean, in situations like this, if they're like back here, honestly, going like this is actually pretty good. That would close off that entire thing, so they're forced to run this way, and then you would cut them off. Stuff like that is good to do. Only in tight areas, though, because you cannot Stigmatize like that in other dead zones. And also keep in mind, replacing stuff, like even like if your Stigmatize is in a good spot, let's say like my flower is just right here. Obviously, survivors can still like disable everything. When you hear the little ding, that gives them a tropa too, when they disable stuff. If this is shut off, realistically, there's nothing you can do about it if it's shut off. But that's why it is good to actually replace your traps sometimes, because it will, if that is the oldest one, it really depends on how you place your stuff. But if that is the oldest one, the disabled one, then like you can replace it and then like just put it somewhere else, or even put it at like a dead zone where somebody is. Even if they're all in good spots, don't just have 6 traps for the entire game just sitting around. You should be replacing stuff sometimes, even if said trap is in a good spot, because they can be disabled. They could also just not be doing anything at the moment if everyone's just on another part of the map. Enough of Stigmatize and Seeker Bulb. We have Enstrangle. Hard truth is there's not much to say about this ability. In my opinion, at least, this is one of the worst killer abilities right now. The hitbox is just really consistent, like the little purple arch right there. Like, it does aim there, but there's so many moments where I go track someone and then like it'll take a bit for it to even register or something. It's really weird. Like someone will be standing right here and then you Enstrangle and then like, you go like this. If you flick a little too quick, like it'll still like shoot like somewhere over here. The hitbox is just really inconsistent, but like the best way to really use it is just kind of at the end of chase, or like if somebody is running into a vine, like they have no choice but to run into a vine. It's a good time to use Enstrangle because they literally have to juke it, and like you pretty much should get a guaranteed Enstrangle if you just know what you're doing or just aim it correctly. But the other hard truth is that this ability fucking sucks, and as long as there's a Jane or a Shed hovering you, you can't use it. That's just the hard truth. You cannot use this ability. It has so much end lag upon using it, and it has so much end lag even after you grab the survivor, and someone can just, a Shed can just stun you, a Chance can stun you, a Jane can stun you, even a 2-ton can backstab you. Another time you could use Enstrangle is like if someone is caught in a vine and like you just want to be extra and just like throw them into another dead zone. It really depends. Like you should probably only grab them if there's like another bulb nearby or another vine, because if you grab them, that's about 15 damage because you have the 10 damage from the vine and 5 damage from your... Actually, no, it's 20 damage because the Strangle does 10 damage, so 20 damage. And then you throw them into a corner, that's 25 damage. But it's just better if you just hit them because they have a trope of 3. Every Atropa is 1 extra damage, so you would do 35 damage. That's immediately more damage, so you would just hit them. Only Enstrangle them in a vine if you have another, like, bulb nearby, because that's when you would actually do more damage, because you still start chase really close, and you throw them into another trap. Another thing to do with Enstrangle, if you grab someone and there's no vine near, literally just throw them into a really unfavorable spot. Like, let's say I grab someone with Enstrangle they're over there, and I grab them right here, and I'm like, oh, I have no traps. I mean, they're all over here, but let's just say I don't. You're like, oh, I have no traps. Well, you could just run over here, and then like throw them like into this corner. This is a horrible spot to be in. You start chase with 110 stamina. You're up stamina, and they have to run back into you. It's pretty much a guaranteed M1. Try not to throw someone and hit right next to you because you do get debuffs. I don't remember the exact debuffs, but I'm pretty sure it's like, I think it's helpless for like 3 seconds and then slowness for a few seconds. I don't remember, but just know like throwing someone like on top of you is actually not good because you do get a really strong chase starter. Like it's still not that bad anyway, because if you throw someone on top of you, you're still so close with 110 stamina anyway. But you do get debuffs, and it is better to just throw someone in an unfavorable spot and then start chasing. And also, never use Enstrangle just like starting a chase. Like they're just gonna run behind something, or like they're just gonna juke you out, because you can't just, you could stand here and like just wait for a juke, but like they could just run behind something, and now you wasted your time because your stamina gain is like pretty fucked up for some reason when using Enstrangled. So now onto the most important ability, honestly, because in my opinion, without Golem, Azure is honestly at like 50-60% power. He loses like half his power if he doesn't have Golem, for a lot of reasons I'll explain. But Inflorescence. Keep in mind, Golem is not a rush down. You have 50 stamina, you have 30 sprint speed. Golem is not a rush down ability. Do not use it as one. It is another, just basically another zoning ability to make up for other areas that your traps don't cover. Basically, when you're using Golem, it's almost kind of like it's double trouble. You kind of treat it as you're playing two different killers, except one's obviously can't move for the moment. If someone's over here and you just go into Golem and you try to run them through this entire thing and just chase them like you're playing Azure, you're gonna get fucking destroyed and you're gonna waste your Golem. Golem lasts 45 seconds, which is still pretty long. But keep in mind, you drain about 9 stamina, or 9.5 stamina every second. Even just going through 50 stamina, that's already 5 seconds, which is still pretty long. So, like I was saying, you treat it as you're playing two separate killers, essentially. Like, if you know, like, other ASIMs, like on Roblox, like Dive Death, there's a double trouble game mode, and the killers basically secure kills by making it where they have no choice but to run back into one of the killers. Because let's say someone's, like, right here, and then like you're one of the killers, you're right here, and then the other killer is somewhere like over here. Now they have no choice but to get cut off with like from just sheer pathing, and they have to either run back this way to the other killer or even run back this way. It's very important where your main body is and where the Golem is, because let's say someone's like maybe somewhere over here. I want to try to run them back into my other form, because both the Golem and Azure have two different stamina values. I think if you do 0 though, like as Azure, the Golem will be 0'd, but if my main body is here, I want to, the survivor is like behind this. E is like basically like John Doe spikes, like it gives slowness, it can knock them back. Basically, you always want to force the other back into the other form. If you're playing the Golem, you want to try to force them to run back into the actual form, and because once they start sprinting, and once they you get the Golem to make them sprint into you, they're absolutely fucked, because you're gonna come back into your main form. You're gonna be at 110 stamina. They just ran from your Golem. You start chasing them, they're absolutely fucked. Maybe they won't die 100% of the time, but they will take a lot of damage. And it's also vice versa. Like if my Golem is, let me put my Golem like somewhere, I don't know, over here. It'd be pretty useful to have a bulb right here. Actually, this is where actually using your traps along with the Golem is pretty strong too, because now they can't run back. If they're over here, like this is just example. Now if they can't run this way because of the bulb, I'm right here, because if you know, object permanence is like basically the whole thing here. Like they shouldn't run back into me. I'm gonna force them to run this way, and then as they're running this way, surprise, and I am gonna be up stamina. Maybe I won't be up stamina, because the thing with Golem is like you can be up stamina, but it's kind of hard to, because you still only have 50 stamina. But if you do make them run into your Golem for like a little bit, then you will be up stamina even in Golem. But the reason Azure is like not that strong without Golem is because everything else that Azure does, like with Atropa, he needs Atropa to even do damage, to like even do like good damage. Like he only does 22 damage without Atropa. It's pretty pitiful. Golem by itself, I believe the M1 does 26, 28 damage, and the blooming or the slam, it does like 30 damage. I legit don't remember, but your Golem should also always be used as a substitute for somewhere a trap isn't at. Like a good example would actually be right in this little area. I don't have literally anything over here. I mean, these traps aren't kind of like random ass areas. Like there's 3 bulbs in that one area, but you do want to put your golem in like dead zone areas or just areas where your traps aren't at, because the golem doesn't really do anything like in the open. Like if I have my golem right here, I would go into it, but this thing's about to run out. It's annoying to get ablation in private servers, but if I go into golem, like I just pop my golem right here and then just start chasing someone in the open, you're not going to do literally anything. Like the slam, the E, which is this, like just doing it in the open, it's not going to do anything because they're in the open. I don't know how many times I've said open. All it's gonna do is knock them back, which is fine. Like it's still 15 chip damage, but you're actually gonna knock them further away than the golem could even catch up, unless they're like in a dead zone against a wall. So it's actually way worse to even slam in general in the open. Oh, also, I didn't really go through the golem abilities that much, but it's not even really like a full explanation. Blooming, the slam, like, don't try to hit it through walls. It does not go through walls. The only time it could hit through a wall is if like the survivor's right here, you're standing right here and you press Q. This is where it would probably hit, but you still have to be poking out a little bit right here. So still doesn't go through walls. Don't try to use blooming through walls. It does not go through walls. Did I mention it doesn't go through walls? But blooming is really only good to use once you slam someone. Like if you slam and like they actually get hit by this and they get knocked all the way over here, you would just run up, Q, M1, every time someone's like in a dead zone or like they get slammed and they pretty much can't move, you just press Q, then M1. It's a free like 50, 60 damage, however much the combo is. It's a lot of damage. That's why Golem's so strong, because if you use Golem at the right situation and use them right, you could honestly combo the shit out of somebody and they just fall over. If somebody gets caught by a vine next to your golem, literally immediately go, if your golem's next to them or like close enough, literally immediately go into your golem. You can honestly slam, use your unearthing. They're gonna get slammed, they go into the wall, or like we just like aim it right, they go into another dead zone, press Q, M1. Oftentimes that's literally a one-shot combo. It's crazy. Does it happen much? Not really. Can you still set it up? Absolutely. But that's all I have to do for this guide. I hope this actually helped. Azure is a really weird killer. Like people said that he's like he was really OP on release. I immediately knew people were gonna say that, and he was just not gonna be like as strong as people said he was. He was gonna be like top 3 or top 4. That's where I predicted he would be, and he is in that range. Actually, I don't think he's top 3. He's like top 4. Some situations top 5, and then other situations, if he has on his worst map, he's literally like arguably the worst killer in the game. But I still find this killer really fun, even if sometimes I want to kill myself sometimes, because holy does this killer have counters. Like, you already have sentinels that can just make sure your Enstrangle doesn't get used, and then you have other survivors, like if you're just not in chase with them, can disable your traps. Azure is definitely one of the hardest killers to play right now. I can honestly argue the hardest, because even John Doe, when he gets his bad map, you can just like snipe and at least get speed and pursue chases. Azure, it's a whole carnival of like, did I use my Stigmatize right? Is my secret bulbs in the right spots? Did I use my golem enough? It's a lot, because Azure is basically has 2 different kits. If you also want to get better at this killer, just learn the maps. Just learn, like, just understand like why the loops are so strong, or like just other chain loops, what you could do. Like, should I put a Stigmatize? Should I put a secret bulb? Is it better to put a secret bulb here, or is it worse? But I'm gonna close it off here. Hope this actually helped. Good luck winning your games on all the bad maps, because it's just basically impossible against even just decent players. That is the best Azure guide. Yeah, no one else's guide is better than mine. But anyway, I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.